On September 17th, 2024, I set out to do the impossible, which was to ride Ghostrider at Knott's Berry Farm 10 times in one day. If you know anything about Knott's Berry Farm, you know that the line for Ghostrider sucks so bad. It's genuinely one of the worst lines to wait in at any theme park ever. Ghostrider consistently has a 2-hour wait. It is very, very difficult to get a ride in on this attraction, which is a shame because the ride is so much fun. I love this roller coaster. Before we get started, please leave a comment down below, please like this video, and please subscribe to this YouTube channel. I am a pretty small theme park channel and I would greatly appreciate your support. Thank you so much. But we do have a secret weapon if you want to get laps on Ghostrider, and that is off-season weekdays. When people are in school and in work, Knott's Berry Farm is still open, and usually you can get a few laps on Ghostrider with a minimal wait. Fortunately for me, September 17th was a Tuesday during the school year, so I was absolutely golden. I arrived in the parking lot for Knott's Berry Farm at 1:45 p.m. on the dot. I noticed that the ride was running, but it did have empty trains, so I was a little concerned that the ride was broken or if it was just coming back up from a downtime. I was also worried that the attraction would have one train ops, which would absolutely suck and ruin the challenge for me because I was not about to wait in that line 10 times with a single train on that massive track. The week of September 17th, Silver Bullet was down for like annual maintenance right before Scary Farm, so that meant one less attraction to disperse crowds throughout the park, which was a little concerning. When I pulled up, the parking lot was relatively full, which also had me concerned, but Knott's Berry Farm does have 2 massive parking lots, and usually during an off-season weekday they only have one of them open, so sometimes it's a little deceiving. Like it'll look a little crowded because everyone's parking in the same parking lot. It's not as busy as it appears to be. I did notice that Accelerator and Hang Time were cycling, so that was relieving at the very least, but I was still concerned for the wait time on Ghostrider. I scanned into the park at 1:51 p.m. and it looked like Ghostrider was running 2 trains because of the minimal dispatch intervals, and it had people on it, so it looked like they were open. And then it took me a minute to get to the entrance to Ghostrider before I got in line for lap number 1. So for this video, I decided I was not gonna request any rows. I was just gonna keep track of the seat that I was assigned to. Ghostrider groupers are also not the most friendly when it comes to row requests. I've been denied multiple times, which does suck because the back row on Ghostrider is absolutely incredible, as is the front. I love the front on Ghostrider as well. Sometimes they'll just stick you in the middle even if you request to wait, so that is kind of a shame. The 2 trains that they were running were the gold train and the silver train. For ride number 1, I was assigned row number 5 on the silver train. Ride number 1 was actually pretty funny. I sat behind a little kid and his mom, and when we reached that scenic turnaround before the 5th drop, the kid said to his mom, after this drop it is not bad, which is a total lie because the second half of Ghostrider is absolutely insane. So I'm not sure why he did his mom like that, but I thought it was funny. When we got back, when we hit the brake run, they actually rolled a train, which I like never see at Ghostrider, so I was really happy to see that. 1 lap on Ghostrider is like total light work for me, so I immediately got back in line for ride number 2. They had no exit attendant, so I wasn't about to walk all the way down to the entrance sign and then make a U-turn, so I just cut through the gate. There was like nobody there, so it's not like I cut the line or anything. Don't yell at me, please. I just didn't want to walk. For ride number 2, I got Silver Train again, but I was assigned row 11, which is the second to back row, so I was very happy with that. I knew I was about to have an incredible ride experience. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you guys. Something happened on ride 2 that nearly caused me to like go home. Something happened on ride 2 that almost caused me to not make this video, and honestly it's the reason why I went to the park in September to do 10 laps on this ride, and I only started recording this video in February of 2025 because on ride 2 I sat behind these 2 kids, and like that's fine. Kids are gonna be kids are gonna be messing around. Like if they're a little obnoxious, that's fine. But what gets under my skin is people that spit. Like that's disgusting. So you might be able to figure out where I'm going with this, but during one of the drops on Ghostrider, the kid in front of me spit and it flew into my face, which is so disgusting. And one thing that you should know about me is that I'm 100% crash out core. Like I might seem like a chill guy, I pretend to be a chill guy sometimes, but dude, I was not happy, to say the least. And because it happened on ride 2, I almost went home. I was like, dude, that's disgusting. Like, you people need to behave yourselves at theme parks. Like, I know everyone watching this video would never do that, but it's still 100% disgusting. Like, oh my gosh, kid, what is wrong with you, buddy? So after I got off of my second ride, I had to take a moment to myself. I went to the bathroom. I like washed myself up a little bit. I heavily considered going home, but I wanted to power through to get this done because Ghostrider had 2 trains, and it's not a guarantee that Ghostrider runs 2 trains on an off-season weekday. And I had already committed to the bit. I was gonna get this done today. But that did drag down my mood by a lot. Like, it completely killed my vibe. And it's why this video is coming out so much later than I intended. I've just been seething for the last few months. That's a joke, in case you can't tell. So after a brief delay, I got in line for ride number 3. And you wanna know what's so funny? I was walking up to the grouper and I noticed those same kids. And then the grouper tried to put me right behind them again. So I requested the back row. I broke my own rule, but I just really wanted to get away from those children. I did not want to be near them again. I definitely did not want to be directly behind them again. So I broke my own rule. I requested row 12. So I did get a back row ride on this day, but I did have to cheat to make it happen. But I think the circumstances justify itself, so I don't know. And as I said, I did get the gold train. So this ride number 3 was my first ride on the gold train. But it was just crazy that I was even on the same train as those kids. I was like, bro, you gotta be kidding me right now. But after 2 rides, like, not in the back row, usually when I ride Ghostrider, I ride in the back because after waiting in that excruciating wait time, I want to make sure I have the best experience possible. But after riding in the middle and then the second to back, I just noticed how much crazier the difference is between row 11 and row 12. Ride 3 was probably my favorite ride of the day. The forces are just so much better in the back row. The airtime is just a little more poppy. The laterals are insane. Like, I absolutely love this layout. I'm planning to make a Ghostrider review video at some point. Well, I'll just absolutely glaze this ride experience. I love it so much. Getting a back row ride on Ghostrider is always the best. Unlike after ride number 2, after ride number 3, I got back in ride for Ghostrider pretty much immediately. At this point, I did check the time and I noticed it was 2:33, so even with that delay, I was still making pretty good time. And for ride number 4, I was assigned to the middle of the train. I got row 6, and once again, I got the silver train. So up to this point, 3 out of 4 rides were on silver train. Ride number 4 also had a really short wait time. I think it was the shortest wait time of the day. I pretty much just walked straight up to the grouper. Rides 2, 3, and 4 ended up being the shortest I ever saw the line for Ghostrider on that day, which is kind of a bummer. Ride 4 was pretty uneventful. The 5th drop in the middle is like a nothing moment, which is just so crazy because in the back it's one of my favorite airtime moments of all time. Kind of reminded me of the drop on Raven at Holiday World, where when I rode that ride near the front, the 5th drop on that ride felt like nothing, but in the back it's a fun airtime moment. So I just love how these trains are pretty long and the diversity of forces in those rows is just insane. Like, the row really matters on Ghostrider. Also, the hill before the final brake run is much better in the front and the middle compared to the back. It's basically a nothing hill in the back because you're slowing down, but I do still prefer the back because the 5th drop is so much better. The 5th drop in the back is way better than the final hill in the front or in the middle. I immediately got back in line for ride number 5, and here's where the wait time started to kick in. I considered ride number 5 to be like a mid wait time. Like, I just had to wait through, like, there was only 2 or 3 trains worth of people in front of me, which isn't awful but not ideal, especially for an off-season weekday. Like, if Silver Bullet was open, I'd probably have a walk-on Ghostrider all day, but that just wasn't the case. For ride number 5, I got Gold Train for the second time and I was assigned to row 9. So this is the halfway checkpoint of this video. I finished ride number 5 at 3 p.m. on the dot, which was kind of crazy. I was starting to get tired. I wanted to take a shower. I wasn't over what happened on ride number 2. And I was hoping for a front row ride at some point, because I don't get to ride Ghostrider in the front that often. I did think about taking a break at this point, but I wanted to get it over with. I wanted to finish this challenge and then go home so I could get started on my 3 months of coping and seething, or however long it took me to make this video. Ride number 6 was had a very similar wait time to ride number 5, which is starting to get irritating. But funny enough, I was assigned to row number 5 and I got Silver Train, which was the same exact row that I got on ride number 1. So I was already getting a duplicate on ride number 6, which I thought was interesting. Like, the odds of that aren't very high. But my main takeaway from ride number 6 was how annoyed I was with someone in front of me. If you dribble a basketball in line for a ride, you're a terrible person and we can't be friends. But I was also in a bitter mood, so... As for the ride itself, riding in the same row that I rode in earlier in the day, I felt like I could feel the coaster starting to speed up. Because at that point I had been riding Ghostrider for like over an hour. So I'm not sure if the ride was speeding up or if my body was just getting more and more drained. I did get to sit behind someone with some really long hair. So like I love watching people's hair fly up during airtime moments. Like that's a really fun thing to look at. Like I love riding rides as much as humanly possible. Like if you watch my Fury review video, you know that I rode that 20 times over like 3 days or something. Same with Cannibal at Lagoon. But I was starting to get tired of Ghostrider. Like the laterals and the length of the layout were starting to become draining. And it didn't help that I was getting a lot of middle row rides. So forces weren't as extreme as they could be, so the ride experience wasn't as fun as I was used to. I always sat in the left seat on every ride so I could have more lateral bracing because of that insane helix at the finale. Something that I probably should have mentioned earlier was that I did not get a friend to do this with me. I tried to convince a few people, but no one wanted to go with me to ride this ride 10 times. So I was all alone. Big sad. If I'm gonna do this for another attraction, I'm gonna have to drag one of my homies. But at this point, I only had 4 rides left, but I needed to take a break. I was tired of waiting. Like, even this short wait time was starting to wear my patience. I didn't think the operations were awful on that day, but I was just growing impatient and frustrated. One thing that I do love about Knott's Berry Farm operations is that they don't push down the lap bars, so it's pretty easy to get airtime room on Ghostrider, which I absolutely love. Like, that makes the ride experience. I love the airtime on this thing. So after my little break, I got in line for ride number 7. This wait time was very similar to rides 5 and 6, so it did feel a little Groundhog Day where I was just waiting in the same line over and over and over again. And I was assigned to row number 8, and I got the gold train for the 3rd time. I only had 3 rides left at this point. I was getting really impatient with the wait time. There's just no urgency on the ride platform, which, like, I understand. Like, it's not like they had a 2-hour wait like they usually do. I was trying to get my laps done so I can dip. I was kind of mentally checked out at this point, and I was just ready to lock in and get these last 3 rides done. So for ride number 8, I got back in line. It was literally like the exact same length in terms of wait time. I was assigned to row 4, which ended up being the closest I ever got to the front, which was a little sad. And I did get Silver Train. The reason I was able to make this video so much later than when I got to ride the attraction is because I wrote notes, and I was so fed up that I didn't even write notes for ride number 8. I literally just got back in line and did ride number 9. And the funny thing about that is that ride number 9 ended up being the longest wait time of the day. Like, the line was all the way down on the stairs. So it did take a while, and I was obviously not happy. And what's even funnier is that when I reached the end of the line for ride number 9, I was assigned to row 5 for the 3rd time, and I got Silver Train for the 3rd time. I got the same row 3 times in this video, which was like mind-blowing. After ride number 9, I was convinced that the ride was speeding up and it wasn't just me getting tired. Like, the layout did have more punch. I've never done something like this where I ride in just a random row multiple times in a single day over the span of like an hour or 2. So that was pretty interesting. But I only had 1 ride left, so I got back in line. The wait time was shorter than it was for ride number 9. It was pretty similar to rides 5, 6, 7, and 8. So my Groundhog Day line at Ghostrider. At this point I was starting to get hungry. Like, I hadn't eaten pretty much like all day, but I didn't have a headache yet, which thank God for that. For ride number 10, I got Gold Train for the 4th time. And I got row number 8 for the 2nd time. So I got 4 rides on Gold Train that day. Half of my rides were in row 8 on Gold Train, which is just crazy. So I got 2 duplicate rows, and one of the duplicates I rode 3 times. So that's just absolutely crazy. After ride 10, I was like so relieved. I was so done. Like, that kid on ride 2 totally killed my mood. I promise this would have been a more fun, a more positive video if I was in a better mood. Like, I almost did not make this video because of what happened, but I was like, screw it, I gotta do it for the lore. I was considering hitting some other rides before I left, but that just wasn't in the cards for me. I remember when I walked away, I was like, I don't have to ride Ghostrider for a while because I was just so done with it. But I literally rode it 2 weeks later during Scary Farm, and Scary Farm night rides go absolutely crazy. Like, I remember saying to my friends, I got to go with friends that day, so that probably made the experience better. But I remember saying that one of my night rides on Scary Farm in 2024 was the fastest I've ever felt Ghostrider run in my life. So that was an amazing experience, and it was only a couple weeks after I did this interesting challenge. But that one kid totally killed my vibe. I really wish that didn't happen. If you guys really like this video, I'm down to do it for other attractions, and I really hope that something like that never happens again. But we'll see, I guess. My final note was that it will be a while before I do something like this again, and it has been a while, so if you guys want to make me suffer, let me know in the comments down below which attraction I should do. The easy standouts are Hang Time and Accelerator. But my big takeaway from these 10 rides is that it wasn't the fastest I've ever felt Ghostrider run. September 17th was a cooler day after a major heat wave, so the final helix wasn't as exhausting as it could have been. Like 10 rides, doing that helix 10 times could have absolutely killed me, but I thought I was doing relatively well considering I was in a bad mood and the forces could have been way more extreme. I'm honestly surprised I didn't get a headache because I literally did not eat. But I got off of ride number 10 at 4:22 p.m. So it took an hour and 22 minutes to do my final 5 rides, and the whole thing took about 2.5 hours, which really isn't that bad. I mean, like on a Saturday, 2.5 hours could get you like 1.5 rides on Ghostrider, so not a bad deal. Just to cover wait times one more time, the shortest wait times I experienced were for rides 2, 3, and 4. The Groundhog Day mid wait times I experienced were rides 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10. And then the longest wait time of the day ended up being ride number 9. So overall, this was a really interesting experience. I'd love to hear down in the comments below if you've ever done anything like this. This is like a new style of video for me. I've never done a trip report style video. So if you enjoyed this, please let me know down below if you'd like to see more content like this. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you later.